I was running a course with two relatively inexperienced paddlers. They were doing really well, and they took the line on a particular rapid that I suggested. They weren't quite on line, they moved a little bit to the side, but that's not their problem. It's an awkward line. But it's down the remains of an old weir, and in the last couple of years about 3 meters, 10 feet of the weir have collapsed, and so there's a lot of square cut blocks. And they were coming down that pretty well where I wanted them, and they hit something massive and square in the water. And the result was, well, not one that I'm terribly keen to hear. I've heard it a few times over the year. Ray, we've got water coming into the canoe. And pulled them over to the side, took a look, and there's a fairly catastrophic hole in the back of the boat. Yeah, I'm really sort of gutted because it's a good boat, but it's not the customer's fault. That's the first thing, to reassure them of that. And then get the boat out, but we've still got time to do, we've still got part of the day to do, so I've got to go on and make a temporary repair. And what I'm going to do is look in this video at the temporary repair, what the things I did right, the other possibilities. The other interesting thing that happened with this, this was on a Monday, and Lina was working away over the previous weekend and couldn't find her own repair kit, so we've sort of debated her taking my repair kit. And then I thought, well, I'm working on Monday, I don't actually like being on the water without a repair kit. So we scrambled something together for her for the weekend, and I still had my normal repair kit. And Lina's just commented that if I hadn't had my repair kit, I would have looked like a bit of a plank. So good idea, stick to your rules, what you carry, what you do, and then you're never without. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the patch that I put on the day. I'll cut in a couple more pictures of it. I'll include a picture of the guilty party. Well, not really guilty, no, she wasn't guilty. But I'll talk through this, then I'll strip this off, and then I'll actually show you how I did it on the day. So what I've done, and we'll see the real problem here, there's a whole unsupported area here where the Royal X has been smashed out of the way, and there's a crack continuing up there. The major problem is, well, the hole is the problem, but this area, the tape is going to be unsupported. So there's numerous layers here. I've done layers of tape across, I've done some strips end to end, and then I've done more layers across. The issue with all this is that once you put this on and you're reliant on this, you really need to keep the boat in deep water. Scraping onto beaches, scraping over ledges is going to hit the edge of the tape here, the duct tape, and it's going to start lifting it. We didn't have far to go, but we actually stopped to play on a couple waves, a couple features, so probably this was on for an hour and a half, and that kept the water out, kept it going, but it's very vulnerable in this area. So looking at this, my heart sank. You know, it's not just a crack, it's not just a split, it's been a hole that's pulverized into it. So this was wet, get out of the water, I'll have a look inside. Couldn't manage to push this back into place and hold it sensibly in place, so that's not going to be a lot of use to me. First thing, I wanted to test the Royal X and see if it was still solid. If it's gone, just for my own sake as much as anything, that's repairable. And what we'll do in the long term, we'll put a proper Kevlar or fiberglass patch onto it with resins and epoxy or epoxies, and that will make that whole again, and we'll do the repair outside inside. But what I'm going to do today is look at the temporary patch that I put on the river. This was soaking wet, so with a bit of a simulation of that. I'm not going to soak the whole thing. I really don't want to drop water into this crack because of the major repair that I'm going to do. So let's just get some water on there. And it doesn't even want to particularly stay, but there we go. Let's get some water on. But even that amount of water is going to be enough to stop the duct tape from adhering. So what we did, if it was raining, if it was damp, we'd have to get a shelter. I'd carry a shelter with me within my emergency kit anyway. I would have had to put that up, get the end of the canoe in it, got to get the water off of it, I've got to get this dry. So this is drying really quickly. This would have been lovely on the day, and it wasn't. I've got a couple of J-cloths from the kitchen, which they live in my kit, but I've also got wool shirt, that's really good. Anything to start that drying process and get the water off. And it's doing it really easy in this video, and I don't really want to soak it, but at the time it was a damp day, we were under trees, it really didn't want to dry like this. I even used a spare hat that I had in my kit because it's got a sweatband in it and it absorbs water, so I used that as part of the drying process. And within my repair kit, some of these cloths to again get it as dry as I possibly can. And that all looks very easy, and I assure you it wasn't on the day because it felt damp. Before I go on to do exactly what I did, and I did consider it at the time, could I bridge this gap in any way? What a lot of us used to do, and some people still do, and perhaps I'll go back to it, is carry a small amount of plastic sheet. This is from a milk carton, milk bottle, plastic one. It's fairly flexible, so I could actually cut that so it provides more support into this area. I use my knife to do that and get a shape to do that. I could take one of the balers and sacrifice it, again cut a shape to bridge this gap, but I only want to bridge it by a small amount, so there's plenty of room to make the adhesive tape work. I can actually break it with my teeth, and it's designed to do that. Yeah, I've got a knife on me, but it's just as easy to do with the teeth. But here we go, our first bit of tape. I'm going to start all the way back here. First one in. I'm particularly concentrating on the edges. How am I doing, fella? How am I doing? All right? Thank you very much indeed for your assistance. So the water is going to get in under here, so I need to continue all the way up here. Just trying to build up layers, build up some strength in this area here. But because it's a big hole, then I'm going to go back over it. I'm going to actually stop the taping there. Because this isn't going back on the river like this, but I'm going to leave the patch in until I'm ready to put the epoxy and Kevlar patch onto the boat. I need that to be really dry, but this is basically the repair that I did on the river. A couple of other suggestions. Well, we've already talked about having something here to bridge the gap for a longer repair in a wilderness situation. What some people suggest is that you round off these edges so that you're less likely to pull stuff off, and actually cut it into shape. I didn't do that. It looks neater. Some people say by cutting it into shape you've got less things that are going to rub to actually pull the thing off. My inclination is to leave it like that, but lots of other people will cut it. The other thing, and I think this is a good suggestion, the edges. Once the edges start lifting, water gets under them and then the whole thing starts moving off. Bit of candle. Very careful not to lift the thing, but just running some candle wax into the edges so the water is less likely to get under it. I didn't do that at the time. I didn't have a piece of candle with me. Some people carry it, so I'm just putting the suggestions out there. I think it works. Is it enough for the occasions I use it once in every few years? I don't know. The candle breaks up in my kit. When you do use it, I think it's better. So up to you on that. But this repair lasted for a couple hours on the river, or hour and a half probably. We weren't doing a lot of distance, but we were throwing the boats around on ways, we were going over ledges. I'm going to leave this temporary patch in place to keep it dry until we actually do the full repair. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please comment or press the like button, and of course you can subscribe. My own book Canoeing is available directly from myself or from Amazon and other retailers. You can support the channel, if you'd like, by going to buymeacoffee.com. The link is also in the description below this video. Thank you very much indeed.